The number one question couples have about today's complex relationships is how they can create lasting passion. And the answer is simple to say, but it's not so easy to achieve, right? But the truth of the matter is differences attract. And by learning to express our unique self, which is different from our partner's unique self, passion can not only be sustained, but it can grow. Welcome back, guys, to another live Wednesday training where every Wednesday I go live talking about new ways to improve your marriage and fatherhood. And some of these tactics and strategies, they're not only isolated to just your relationship. Because let's face it, there's no such thing as work life balance. So, improving your health, your wealth, and your relationship, they're all key. Because none of these things are compartmentalized, they all bleed or leak energy. And so if you're not taking care of one, you're not living the highest version of yourself or the most fulfilling life that you deserve. My name is Joel Evan. I'm a best-selling author, a former first responder of 15 years. I've been married for 12 years, and I have two young boys. And after 10 years of being married, my marriage was on the brink of divorce. And I radically changed it in just 3 months. But here's the crazy thing. Prior to changing my marriage and fatherhood, I was already a life coach. I was already someone who invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my personal development, and I had already done 4 years of therapy, and yet still my marriage and connection with my kids sucked. I thought I had done it all, and really, I honestly felt like there was just nothing left to be done. I had reached a point where I really believed at this point my wife and kids were the problem, and there was nothing else left to be done. But I was wrong. And I realized that after my transformation, that there was an actual framework or system for doing this with all men. And that's what I'm on a mission to do right now. Help men build unshakable marriages and deeper connection with their kids in just 90 days. Now, this week, we're going to be diving into male and female polarities and why understanding these polarities is going to help you unlock your relationship. You're going to reduce conflicts and you're going to create more passion in your life than simply that lackluster roommate life you've already been living. Now, this is part 2 of a part 5 series. And in the first part, we talked about the 4 stages of a relationship and the number one reason why couples break up. So if you missed that one, go back and check that one out. All right. Now, let's get into polarities. Now, remember, you first met your significant other. And when you did that, it was like hearing a new song, right? When you hear a new song, you just want to keep playing the song over and over and over again. Eventually, you play out that song because when a song's new and different, this is what it does. It automatically stimulates specific brain chemicals and hormones that make you come and feel more alive. But when the song is no longer new and different, those brain chemicals, those hormones, they're no longer being stimulated, which is why we love novelty. And that's why infidelity and cheating is very popular. Now, unlike a song or a recording, here's the cool thing. People can actually change and grow every day. And it's this continual newness that can help support our attraction and our passion with our significant other. But when we start to suppress aspects of our male and female sides in order to earn a living, fulfill social pressures and expectations, or just simply to please our partners, then we stop growing and our attention lessens. And it's a man's masculine qualities when they're expressed in a way that supports the expression of a woman's female qualities, that excitement, that awakens her, and those romantic feelings are stimulated again. And that's what keeps people together long term. So when a woman says to you something like, I just want a real man, that is what they're referring to. Okay? And it's the growing expression of a man's female qualities like love, vulnerability, cooperation, interdependence. These allow him to express his male side in a way that also supports a woman more. But it's got to be combined with a full expression of his male side also, like independence, detachment, confidence, and competence. So that's where you hear something like, she may actually say like she loves you, but she's just not attracted to you. And we see this all the time in relationships too, where a woman will shift from being in love with someone to something that's just more platonic, or they feel like they're just being motherly toward him. And women are doing the same thing, right? We see it all the time. Now, most women, unfortunately, they're just being too pushed into the masculine. They're working full-time jobs, they're being the leader of their family, they're taking care of the kids and homework and packing lunches, making dinner, etc. And so without a man in the household leading and supporting his woman to help her return to that female side, that's where a lot of this conflict starts to arise. And that's where you see chronic moodiness from your woman. Men start to feel just lack of being appreciated. They feel lack of validation. And when this continues, it leads to a cycle of detachment, isolation, and eventually separation. So let's dive into why it's so important to understand these male and female polarities. And this is why it's so key. Because when we think of polarities, I want you guys to just think of magnets. I want you to think of like the North Pole and the South Pole. Or in this case, the masculine and the feminine. So if you're a man who overexpresses his masculine polarity, you're going to be more attracted to a woman who expresses her radiant divine feminine. However, as you get closer, oftentimes what we see is the polarities start to shift. And so a man might start to express his more female polarity, and now you've got two strong feminine polarities. So what typically happens is you might become really good friends or great friends, but the passion's just not there. And then the opposite is also true. A woman overexpressing her masculine is attracted to more of a feminine male. And as they start to get closer and become more vulnerable and interdependent and receptive, guess what? Her polarity starts to change and she goes back to the feminine. And now we have two feminine poles. And then what happens is we start to see that loss in romantic interest for him or for her. And it just becomes roommates. It becomes a sexless marriage. It becomes just, hey, how you doing? Very routine, right? And this is why it's so key, guys, to start to understand how these polarities work. I think a perfect example of this is when both couples come home from work. Or even if the woman's been home all day taking care of the kids. That's freaking work. You've got both people now stuck in their masculine side. And so what typically happens in some type of effort to balance out each other, the man might even just start talking or complaining about his day or expressing his female qualities. What happens though is your wife is now being pushed more into that male side in an attempt for her to listen to you. And guess what? This only increases her stress even more. So the best thing that a guy could do in this scenario is take a short break and take some alone time. That's going to help him return to the male side. That doesn't mean when you come home, you just go Netflix and chill. You've got to support and lead your wife. She comes first, then have your alone time. I was talking to a father the other day. He told me that he actually, after work, every night he runs and goes on a nice long sprint because it clears his head. He feels restored. He feels balanced. He feels refreshed. Now he can actually listen to his wife when he comes home. So she feels heard, she feels close, and that is what's going to help balance her back into that feminine side. And in most relationships today, when the woman is more on her male side, it's the man who wants to connect more, while the woman just feels too busy to even do so. And then we see a man starts to push. He wants to get close to her. So he pushes. When a man pushes to get close to her, it then pushes him further to his female side. And we also see women do this, right? Attempting to connect with their man and have him open up and talk about his feelings. The only problem with this is this just pushes him further and further into that feminine side, and eventually an imbalance is going to occur. And usually this will express itself by men suppressing the urge to connect. They isolate, they detach, they veg out. And when you continue to go down this route, your wife begins to see you as the problem to be solved. Amongst all the other problems she has to solve, you're just another problem now. And she has become locked in on her male side. And now you, as a guy, you become resistant naturally because you feel like she's trying to change you. And usually those changes come through the modality of complaints and complaining or nagging. And guess what? Here's the problem. What resists persists. So in general, you want to remember this key point. For women, talking about feelings is one of the most powerful ways for her to return into her female side and rebuild her female hormones. And that's going to help her lower her stress. Now, for a man, one of the best ways for him to cope with stress is to stop talking so much. He needs some alone time, whether it's meditation or working out or just 10 minutes to breathe, and just that is going to help him produce his male hormones, lower his stress, and bring him back into that masculine polarity. So here's the big wrap up here. Now that we know this, like, what do we do with this? Well, we've got to learn to embrace our differences while simultaneously supporting the free expression of both our male and female sides. It is only embracing our differences while letting go of our limiting male and female stereotypes and roles that we can actually sustain passion in our relationships. I hope you guys found this training powerful. Every Wednesday, tune in. This is where I go live. If you want to learn more about my coaching program and the work that I do with men, also I have a new program that I just launched called Limitless Couples, where my wife, Nini, and I take on couples and we take them through this journey. So if you want to amplify or accelerate those changes and work with both of us, so you can work with your wife or the husband, it's a great way. And I've done all the work, just so you know, all by myself in the beginning. That's how I started. I started doing all the work by just me changing. And by me changing so much, the culture, the environment of the home changed because I was finally leading. And that's what massively started to change our home. And then eventually everybody started to change. But it would be much better, and I've seen from experience, it's always much better if you have both parties working together. So if you want to learn more about that, drop me a line and I'll get you the details. Or if you just want to learn more about my community that I work with in the men's work and our program and our community, then just shoot me a line and I'll get back to you and get you the details. Guys, have an amazing week. This is going to be a monstrous training. I think a lot of ahas will open up for you. And we've got 3 more parts to this series of teaching you how to build a complaint-free relationship, and this is only part 2 of 5. I'll see you guys next week.